Obviously, a lot of good that came out of Saturday. Good to come away with the win. A lot of players who made their first career FBS starts in a lot of different places, got a lot of great game experience, as we went through it. Also got to be a lot more detailed in certain areas, got to be a lot more disciplined. The number of penalties are inexcusable. They were, major contributors to extending drives or hurting our own drives. So it's something that we really need to put a great deal of emphasis on, and we will continue to do that. Just tighten up the details of our job, the details of our craft, and the discipline of our craft as we go forward, against a really, really good opponent that's coming in here in Oregon State this week. But was excited to be in Snapdragon this past weekend. The fans that showed up did a heck of a job, and looking forward to more members of the community coming out to, cheer us on to victory and to be a big key of that and to create a great home field advantage for us at Snapdragon Stadium.
Danny O'Neill have stage fright to start, and how did you calm them down?
I wouldn't call it stage fright, right? I mean, he's excited about the opportunity and, probably pressed and did a little bit too much there in terms of, a little bit of adrenaline. Just need to get settled into the game. Again, play his game, right? Finish strong. Got a sense for what they were trying to do to us and what the proper answers were. And, again, finish strong, something that he can build off of, so pleased with his effort.
What makes Cooper so good at this level?
His ability to make people miss. He's a relentless competitor. He's got great short area quickness and elite contact balance. He's just got a great drive and a high workload that you can continue to feed it to him, and he gets better and better as he goes.
Coach, after watching the tape between the first half and the second half, were you able to figure out maybe more specifically what the differences were between the two halves?
Yeah, I mean, the details in our job was a main difference in how we approached it, right? There was just too many moments in the first half where we were on an edge, where we were supposed to be outside leverage, we're inside leverage, right? Just hat placement, communication, some base fundamentals that we were able to really tighten up. I felt that, again, guys got to feel the speed of the game for the first time, right, in the roles that they were in, and really have a great appreciation for the urgency and the focus that they need to play with. And then once they got settled into the game and got a feel for what it was going to be like, to do it on their own out there and to really go experience it, again, there was no magic sauce to the second half. It was a matter of doing our jobs at the level that we were capable of. And, that was a conversation yesterday as we were here and we were owning what we put down on tape, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I truly believe that the good moments that we saw is who we're capable of being, and the things that we didn't do to our standard, we're not going to tolerate, and we cleaned that up. The guys were very, very receptive and, seeing what they put down on tape and how they can do it better. And I'm eager and excited to get back to the grass tomorrow, right, so we can have a greater sense of urgency, greater sense of focus, and a higher attention to detail, that our guys now know that, hey, that's what winning requires. It's not just coach speak, that we got to be that locked in on how we prepare, because all of them want to win, right? But it's that willingness to prepare to win and that level of work that you have to put into it throughout the course of the week so that you can go play and pass that test at a high level come Saturday.
On the overthrows early, was that anything you noticed that he was doing, or is it just we noticed it more because it came at the start?
I think we probably just noticed it more because it came at the start. I mean, and again, there's a different timing and rhythm that those guys need to feel, and have an appreciation for the releases on the edge. And, there's a couple probably where, he was getting a little bit quick in his drop. But again, it's just feeling the speed of the game, settling in, knowing, what it looks like, guys' different body positions and where you can put the ball to make them right. I really thought there was really only one that he kind of sprayed out of bounds that he wished that he would have had back. But, a couple of those other ones, it's a half yard there, it's a half, short or long, but we weren't off by that much. And obviously we'll tighten that up as we go forward.
Coach, I believe this is the first time as a head coach that you've had a traditional Power 5 at home.
Yeah.
What was it like having to go that Murderers Row 3 Power 5 games on the road every single year?
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, it was a huge challenge, right? I mean, you really kind of callous the spirit, callous the mind a little bit, knowing what you're going to go into it with. But it was really cool as well, right? Because it was a unique opportunity. And anytime you get to go on the road, the travel squad's kind of tightened up a little bit, right? Like, everyone who's on the trip has a very specific purpose, and there's some really good bonding of, leaving the comfort of home and to go on the road and, to travel and to do that and to be connected as a team and everything. But yeah, it's pretty exciting to, again, welcome, one of these caliber opponents home, and into our venue. And again, it's a great reason for our fans to show up and to support. And again, it will motivate us, that we have another quality opponent coming in here that we need to prepare the right way for.
So, I mean, you were a fan base at Penn State. You never got the opportunity to see that in the home stadium. What does it mean for your program, for the city, for the fans to be able to get the opportunity to see one of those schools in person at their home stadium.
I mean, they happen to be the next great faceless opponent that's coming in, right? Our community should be excited about the work that our kids are putting in and the few select opportunities that we get, regardless of who happens to be on the other sideline, to come to Snapdragon and see our kids play, right? Like, we got a ton of kids that are from right here in San Diego County that, you know, are really, really proud to represent San Diego and Southern California. And, man, if you're living here, like, there's no better place to be on a Saturday in the fall than, you know, this Saturday, 7:30, come out and see our kids, our Aztecs, you know, do their thing that happen to be playing Oregon State.
You mentioned Cooper gets stronger as the game goes on.
Mhm.
That certainly was the case on Saturday, but what in your mind positions him to handle that kind of workload consistently?
Yeah, I mean, his preparation and how he goes about conditioning his body, his mental toughness, the chip that he carries on his shoulder that you guys got to feel a little bit when you were talking to him post-game, right? Like, he's got a tremendous pride in his performance, and it doesn't matter if it's, you know, the first rep of a Tuesday practice or it's the last rep of game day Saturday. He handles those moments like an elite competitor, and he goes about them the right way. And so just that mental makeup that he has, and his humbleness, right, that he wants to go out and he wants to, you know, play for something bigger than himself as well. Like, he wants to maximize all those opportunities that the O-line creates for him, right, and share that joy and that passion with them as well. But his mindset, his makeup, and his journey is what makes him so special.
You mentioned that chip on his shoulder. What goes through your mind when you hear him say, I think I'm the best back in the country? More so that he's willing to take that on and say it.
Yeah, I mean, I want all the guys in our locker room to feel like they're one of the best in the country, right? I mean, I want guys who want to be here on the Mesa, that want to compete for championships at the highest level, believe in themselves that they can go play in the league, and have the courage and the confidence to say it because they put in the work to back it up, right? I mean, so heck yeah, like, we want to be the best that there is in everything that we're doing. So, you know, again, be humble, but, you know, stay hungry and have the real confidence because of the work that you've put in. You know, like, that doesn't bother me at all.
The wide receiver group, do you run a lot of guys through there intentionally to wear out the other defense and give guys fresh legs on there, series by series?
Yeah, it helps, right? I mean, when you're driving the play count up to 78 snaps, to be able to keep our guys fresh as we're going through, so that they can be able to play, you know, at repeat full speed consistently. You know, I think that's a competitive advantage for us with the depth that we have at that position.
Coach, you're good with your field goal kicking. It seemed like you obviously moved through
Mhm.
Dave and Nick through there, and is that any of that depth chart kind of stuff changes?
I mean, it's going to be very much the same. Both guys will continue to get opportunities as we sort out, you know, who can be most consistent. You know, there's no secret about, you know, that there's been some consistency that we need to tighten up as we've gone through training camp with all of it, right? And that showed up both in, you know, the kicks, the field goals, the PATs, and the kickoffs, right? We got to do a better job with all of that consistently as we go. And so, again, that's just detail to the craft, preparation, right? And treating every single moment, every single kick throughout the course of the week the way that you would a game, right? So that a guy can separate and, you know, then be that guy as we move into the full journey of the season here.
And Coach Barton, it seemed like he showed a lot on his special teams units on Saturday.
Who is that? I'm sorry.
Coach Barton.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys actually did the 2-point conversion, you know, rolling out, hitting them to both sides of the field.
Yep.
I mean, is showing that much on tape that early intentional because now Oregon State and the rest of the schedule has to prepare for it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's years and years of what we've done on teams on tape, right? And so, again, we want to be multiple in that way. We want to be difficult to prepare for in that regard. And again, like, we feel like that area, that phase of the game can be a major competitive advantage for us, right? So as much time as we can, you know, create some extra stress for the opponents that we happen to face in that area of the game, you know, it's going to take away from, obviously, things that they're doing offensively and defensively as well. But I think it really helps our kids as well be engaged to that phase of the game, right? There's a buy-in that our kids have in that phase of the game because they know that we're going to do, you know, some aggressive things. They know that we're going to have some fun in that area, and that they get to be a part of it. And we put a lot on their plate, and, you know, fortunate to be able to do it. And, you know, I think Coach Barton does a fabulous job, and we can, again, be more consistent in that phase of the game as we can do to go forward with it all. But yeah, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to be multiple, and we're going to do a lot of different things in the kicking game.
When you reviewed the game, what stuck out to you the most about the penalties and how do you cut them?
You know, I thought, again, guys it was the emotion of the moment probably getting to them a little bit. You know, they were playing emotional, and there's a fine line between the game needs to be played with emotion versus being emotional with it all, right? I mean, there were some that, you know, again, like major points of emphasis that we got to be smart with, you know, like anytime that you go to the head or the neck region of a quarterback, like, that's going to get called. We know what that is, right? And so, again, just being smart, having great discipline, and again, towing that line of playing the game with emotion but not being emotional about it. And again, they were just such such critical errors that, again, extended drives or, we get a big first down and then we have a false start. Now we're playing behind schedule. Like, we just can't put ourselves in those positions. When we earn the right to get off the field, we got to be off the field. When we can't give a new down series to our opponent, right? And when we earn the right to get a first down and to generate tempo and convert a third down, especially like for an explosive play, that can't come off the board and then put ourselves in a position where now it goes from 3rd and 2 conversion, explosive play to, well, now it's 3rd and 12 and, we're behind the sticks and we're off schedule. We can't overcome those errors right now, and we got to continue to develop that discipline and have better focus. And again, toe that line better of being emotional, or playing with emotion rather, but not being emotional.
Coach, talk a little about Oregon State. They rushed the ball 58 times, 315 yards on the ground.
Yep.
First-year head coach.
Yep.
What do you see from them and the challenges that you guys face?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, right? They can control the line of scrimmage. They had 2 backs that went over, 150 yards. One I'm really familiar with Anthony Hankerson. We obviously spent last year at Colorado together. Their starting center, Van Wells, was our starting center last year at Colorado. Their left tackle was our starting tackle at Colorado last year, right? So they're big up front. The head coach has been there. He knows the personnel and obviously has built it to his image, with the turnover that they've had. But they're going to lean on the run game. They're going to possess the ball. They ran it, 58 times. And, conversely, because of that, they took the air out of the ball for an explosive offense in Idaho State, right? That only had, I believe it was like 60 or 61 snaps, right? So we got to do a good job, killing the run and taking that advantage away from them, which is going to be a strong test and a strong challenge, right? And then, defensively, they do what they do, and they do it really, really well. They have a exotic third down package that stresses you with various pressures. They have 2 edge rushers that are dynamic. They can really go 3 deep at that position, and they got some really good length and rangy athletes in the back end that do a good job in their coverages and the way that they mix and match their zone and man coverages. So more than capable, obviously, right? Really, really dangerous team, and really, really well coached and a disciplined unit.
What do you see in their quarterback?
Yeah, again, like he's a guy that can do some good things when given the opportunity. Right, he's very, very efficient. Right, is able to hit a big shot, and again, because of what you got to do, numbers you got to commit to, the box, it creates some good, clean pictures for him. But does a good job with his ball placement. He's super efficient. He's 90%. Right, like it's hard to beat that as you go forward with it. Right, so good player, understands where the strength of their unit is and how he fits into how they attack it.
They played at Oregon State last year. How much can you gather from that?
There's been so much changes on both sides, right? So we'll peek at it for the pieces that are remaining on both sides, but, again, there's been so much turnover and so much change. It's hard to glean and say, hey, that's the end-all, be-all to what's going to happen.
Will they use, Sean, that second quarterback? Is that like a bit of a curveball for them? They use 2, right? The second quarterback came in the first one, right?
Yeah, he did, right? They're going to be multiple in that, and again, how much of that was game experience versus, the situation that was at hand? Like, we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out.
What are the matchup differences that the 2 running backs provide for Oregon State, Griffin versus Hankerson?
Yeah, they're both dynamic, right? They can both hurt you in a lot of different ways. They both have short area quickness. They're both find dirty yards and really help them stay on schedule with everything that they're doing. So, they're both unique in their own way, but they both complement each other well, with how they utilize them and their skill sets.
First time the players say they need to follow their rules, what exactly is that?
It's the focuses and the discipline, right, to what we're asking them to do. There was a couple of those plays where we lost leverage, where, hey, you got to be an outside leverage defender because you got inside help, and, we lost that leverage, right? Or just, hey, the tracking and the spacing of where we're going to, ID to where we're working to, who we're working to, that just within the moment of it, they lose their assignment with how they're doing it. And again, was that speed of the game? That's the first opportunity experience of doing it. We as a staff can do a much better job of just being clear and concise so that there's not those gray areas that pop up with what's going on. But again, it's one of those basic things that we just need to do at a much higher level consistently for 4 quarters, snap after snap after snap.
So when you were sales pitching us the words Aztec fast since the day you got hired,
Mm-hmm.
it's always referencing what's stapled to your driver's license, your offense. Aztec fast is about your defense too. We haven't seen that type of team speed here in a long time.
Sure.
Can you talk about that side of the ball?
Yeah, they're opportunistic, right? Anytime that you get an opportunity to, go hunt the football and generate, 2 turnovers that lead to 14 points immediately, that's a huge swing, right? To be able to start that second half and, to capitalize on the errant snap and for Trey White to keep that thing alive and for Tano to swoop in and get a scoop and score, right? There's obviously JD, everyone sees JD's pick 6 coming out of the post and running that thing back, but there's an unbelievable, pass rush move by Hendo, from the field side, and Owen did a great job firing and up and under the man side guard, and they meet at the tackle, or excuse me, at the quarterback and force an errant throw that ends up being that lollipop in the middle of the field. But again, we got long, rangy guys that are explosive with really good ball skills that can cover a lot of ground and fly to the football, right? So yeah, the Aztec fast mantra gets labeled, instantly with the offense, from rightfully so, I guess, right? But it's a whole brand of ball for our whole program, right? In all three phases, we want to be playing fast, thinking fast, doing fast with confidence, right? But then having fun while we're doing it, being accountable to one another, being really smart with how we do it, and then having a real toughness about how we go about our work in all three phases of the game, not just offense.
Against this run-first offense, how can the defense play even more physical than they did last Saturday, while also playing smart based on what they see from film?
Yeah, I mean, pad level, hand placement fundamentals, right? I mean, the low man wins, and so we got to do a good job playing with great knee bend, with great hand strike, tearing off of blocks, winning our one-on-ones, being gap sound, setting an edge, and then flying to the football so that we can gang tackle their talent with their ball carriers.
Can you talk about your left tackle? What's the length of period he's going to be out?
To be determined. Still doing some more tests, going to figure it all out and see where he's at as we move through the week.
Is it knee or ankle?
It's both. Yeah, he got rolled up pretty good there.
You've seen conferences implement the injury reports, MAC, SEC, Big
Yep.
Ten. Mountain West hasn't said that anything with that's coming, but do you have any feelings about potentially having to release information like that in the future?
I have no problem with whatever rules get decided, doing what needs to be done with it all. I think there's some good to it, right? I mean, but again, at the end of the day, like right now, don't have to, so I'm going to hold my cards close to my vest.
And speaking of rule changes, this is your first time going against an opponent with the new rules, 2-minute timeout, the in-helmet communication stuff, the tablets on the sideline. How do you think that's going to affect games going forward, and how can you take advantage of it?
I think through the first couple of weeks, right, there was a small sample size in week 0 with the way that those games were played, but obviously a full sample size of this week. We've seen the pace of play kind of go down a little bit, right, to where the coaches are able to huddle and to talk to their quarterbacks and use the full duration of the play clock and everything. So, like, just on average, the length of games and the number of possessions have gone down, right? So you got to do a great job of maximizing each one of those opportunities where you get the ball. And when you have an opportunity to get off the field, you got to get off the field, right? Which, again, we did a really nice job of the other night. I mean, our stop rate was over 80%, which was really, really good, right? But, the technology piece of it with the tablets, as I alluded to after the game, was really great, right? Like, you're able to get to the boundary. And, again, I talked about it, where the very first play of the game, we did a poor job in an MDM situation with our outside wide receiver. And instead of you would, in the past, have to get the grease board out and say, hey, here's what happened, right? And you chalk it up and you talk through it. But, again, just with the way that, our kids are wired right now. I mean, they're such visual learners to be able to just literally show them the picture. Hey, here's you. Here's what happened. Here's what you didn't do. Here's what I need you to do. Like, that correction with the whole wide receiver group led to the very first touchdown, right? And so, like, that change and to be able to highlight that and for the kids to be coachable with that, like, that's just, I think, one of the small nuances or, big differences that we'll see to where the in-game adjustments and getting that to the kids and being able to help them, get a higher grade on the test, so to speak, because you're able to review drive after drive in real time was really, really cool.
What did they learn there that helped them then on the touchdown?
Again, just seeing the structure of the defense and how aggressive their quarter safety was playing, down to that run side. So he was able to trigger and react faster. And again, like, it was a great job by Balin, because as we're correcting LB, because it was LB's mistake on the first play, right? Like, Balin's doing a great job, and all the wideouts are engaged in learning from Balin's mistake, right? Like, we've talked since we've been here that, a smart guy will learn from his mistakes, but a wise man will learn from others' mistakes, right? And so, like, that whole group, they're engaged, they're locked in, they see what's going on, and then, again, it rippled through the whole rest of the game, and that one mistake, kudos to the wide receiver group, and kudos to Coach Sampson for getting that adjusted, getting that corrected. It led to some of those explosive runs, notably the one long touchdown run on 3rd and 2 there.
Did Danny's headset in his helmet help settle him and give him more time to read what he had to do at the lunchroom?
Yeah, I think it just helped. We're just giving him some breadcrumbs so that he can be successful, right? We don't want to overwhelm him. Like, I learned those hard lessons, over the summer, to where, like, you got to find out for each guy, like, how much information is too much information, right? And the last thing that you want to have with that communication piece, like any good relationship, is that there's, distrust in the communication, right? So, like, there's a couple times over the summer where, like, hey, you got the hitch. Well, our defense did a great job and, disguised a pre-snap shell, and Danny's listening to me in the helmet saying, "Hey, we got the hitch." And so he blindly has faith and rips the hitch. And well, guess what? The post-snap reality was different than the pre-snap picture. And that hitch went for a pick six. And he's looking at me like, "Coach, what are you talking about?" Right? And so that's where, again, like, even though you have these mechanisms to be able to guide your quarterback or your linebacker or whoever has that green dot, through the game, there's still the kids is what game day is all about. And the players making plays is still what it's all about, right? So you got to give them the tools and the rules and the fundamentals and the skills, and then go trust them to be elite problem solvers, so that you're not, they're not robots just having blind obedience doing what you're telling them to do, but they're playing instinctually because of the work that they've put in, and being able to allow him to do that, probably let him play a little bit more free as we've gone through the training camp and we've learned more about each other.
There's been a lot of turnover on the interior defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
How was your evaluation of how they did?
Yeah, I mean, as a unit, I thought they did a nice job. Again, like anytime you can limit an opponent in the rushing attack to under 2 yards of carry, right? Obviously, very, very productive, and that's a whole effort of the front seven, right? But I thought those guys inside did a nice job. Tavis did a good job. I thought Krishna really flashed. There was some really high effort plays, where he was able to maybe didn't show up as a sack, but that got numerous hits on the quarterback. Was really disruptive. Did a nice job tearing off blocks, and so as a whole, those guys did a good job. But again, it's going to be critical that they play with great pad level this week. They play with great violence inside, great hand placement, and create good knockback in there, because the challenge is going to be a little bit different this week.
How ironic was it that, after all this talk about the 4-2-5, he was basically starting the 3-3-5 for, matching up with the size that they were bringing in?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? I mean, like the football guys will find a way to make you laugh, right? So, yeah, I had to get a chuckle at that.
Do you anticipate playing something similar to that? Because obviously the big formations, big in the run, and things like that, and trying to play stout in that same alignment.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to be multiple, and we're going to put our kids in the best position to be successful, right? Match personnel and get us in the structure that we feel best suits how we can slow them down.